The Pixel 6 is the best phone that Google has ever shipped. Even dating back to the Nexus lines, I think the Nexus 6P was the best Nexus. But as somebody who makes videos about Apple and carries an iPhone in his pocket, what a lot of you guys don't know is I also carry a Pixel with me every single day. And the reason I do that is because I've always been a fan of technology, computers, cell phones, and there's certain things about tinkering with software and doing certain things on the Pixel that I can't do on iOS. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the things that Google did well with the Nexus 6 and some of the things that they always fall short on, and they managed to fall short on that again this year for me. So stay tuned to the end of the video so you find out what those things are. So let's start out with the pros of the Pixel 6. In my opinion, the design is beautiful. It's unique. It's instantly recognizable, and that's one of the things that Apple really nails on, right? You see somebody with an iPhone, you know it's an iPhone because of the camera layout, because of the way it's designed, the way it looks. You can spot it from a mile away. And with this year's Pixel, Google did the same thing. They had that camera layout going all the way across with one bar. And in an age where a lot of cell phones are starting to look the same, Google somehow managed to make their cell phone look completely different from everybody else, and it's going to be instantly recognizable. Another pro about this phone is the camera software. Google always knocks it out of the park with their software and their image processing. Even dating back to 2-3 years ago with the Pixels, they've always had lesser hardware but better software. So they've been able to compensate for their lack of hardware with software that can make the image look a lot better. But this year, Google is integrating better hardware and better software to give you the best imaging experience when it comes to taking pictures and editing pictures as well with their software features. So when it comes to Apple versus the Pixel, which one is better? It's honestly up to you in terms of how you like the images to be processed. Google over-processes their images and Apple makes their images more true to life. But in reality, when it comes to actual quality of the image every single time, in my opinion, I think that the Pixel actually comes out on top, and that's because of the software. A lot of the times, us taking pictures, we're not pro photographers. We don't know what to do. We just take the phone out and take a picture. And Google has mastered their software this year, and they've made it so that the image processing takes great pictures most of the time. And I know a lot of people have reviewed the Pixel and said, it takes good pictures some of the time, not so good pictures other times. But when it comes down to software, there's a lot of things that you can do on the back end to edit photos after you take them to make them look better after the fact with Google that sometimes you cannot do with Apple. So that's one of the reasons why I do still carry a Pixel with me. And lastly, the biggest pro is the Tensor Chip. Obviously, Apple has had their A series chips in their iPhones for years now, keep everything in-house, optimizes it, makes it a lot faster. This year, Google is stepping into the chip game, and that's going to give them a big leap ahead of the competition because when you keep everything in-house, or as many things in-house as possible, you can optimize it for the best battery life and performance. So one of the things about this Tensor Chip is it actually learns you. Just like a lot of Google software, a lot of Google services, it kind of learns your behavior and it adapts to you. So when it comes to using the phone in the beginning, the battery life is not going to be so good. That's because Google is going to be learning what apps you use and what apps you don't use, and it's going to learn your behavior within those apps. What it's going to do is it's going to take some of the apps that you don't use in the background and get rid of them so that when you're using your phone, you don't have as many apps running in the background. It's going to turn off some services that you don't use, certain things like that. So over time, your battery life is actually going to get better as the phone learns you. So don't get discouraged if you have a Pixel and you see that, hey, my battery life sucks. Let it learn who you are and how you work, and it'll get better. Another pro of Google bringing their silicon in-house is that they can control the supply chain. So they're not going to be at the whims of other manufacturers that make these chips for them. They can say, okay, we're going to allot this many chips to this phone, this many chips to that phone, and really keeping everything in-house makes everything run a lot smoother. So if everything kicks off with this Pixel, the next one's going to be even better because the supply chain is going to be more robust. But inevitably, there's always cons with Pixels, and this year it's no different, and I have two main cons with these phones. The first one is that the volume rocker and the power button are on the same side. Same thing with my Pixel, power button and volume rocker are on the same side, and that kills me because most of the time when I'm listening to something and I have my earbuds in and I want to change the volume, I don't want to reach in my pocket, have to take out the phone. I feel for the volume rockers, and they're drastically different than the power button because they're a lot bigger, and I feel for that in my pocket and I press it. When I have my Pixel, sometimes I press the power button when I'm trying to press the volume rockers, and it frustrates the hell out of me. But on my iPhone, power button's on one side, volume rockers are on the other side. When it's in my pocket, I can change the volume because I can feel for them on different sides, on opposite sides. Google, for some reason, insists on having them on the same side. I don't know why they do that. The second con I have with Google, and this is not with this Pixel. Hopefully they stick to this design language and refine it, but Google never sticks to one design language. They're constantly changing it. And this is a story with most Android phones. The difference between Apple and Android when it comes to a design standpoint is Apple nails it on the first time, and they just refine from there. Google, Android phones, Samsung, Huawei, they change their designs every 2 to 3 years drastically. Like, you look at a Pixel from today versus a Nexus phone from way back in the day, and they look nothing alike. Even back in the Nexus days, every single Nexus looked like they were made by a different manufacturer, which they were, but there was no cohesiveness with the design in terms of hardware on the outside. So when you look at this Pixel, they nailed it out of the park. It's instantly recognizable, it's premium, comes in different colors, and people know that, hey, that's the new Pixel. All they have to do is refine it from here. They shouldn't scrap it and redo it next year just because it's a new year. And a lot of people harp on Apple because they keep the same designs for years and years and never change them. The thing about Apple is they get it right the first time and they stick to it and just refine it. If you get things right the first time, you don't have to drastically redesign things the next year and the next year and the next year. If you do it right the first time, you don't have to change it every single year. And that's one of the gripes I have with Google. If I like a design, I buy it. I expect that design to be refined. I don't expect it to be scrapped the next year and then drastically redesigned. So those are my pros and cons with the Pixel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my other videos. I typically make Apple videos, but I'm gonna start making videos on Android, Windows laptops, stuff like that. So make sure to stay tuned.